Hi everyone. Friends, there are five communication mistakes which many intelligent, smart, and educated people commit, because of which they look absolutely insecure, because of which they look absolutely underprepared, and because of which nobody takes them seriously when they start talking. Now, you might ask me the question that how do I know all this? Well, I know all this because I have been there and done that. I was committing these mistakes in my corporate life, and I really wish I had a mentor and a coach at that point of time to tell me that I was committing one of these or all of these mistakes. Now, what will happen if you don't correct these mistakes? Well, nothing will happen. Life will go on as it is. But you will spend your entire life wondering that why is it that people interrupt you the moment you start talking? Why is it that people start looking at their mobile phones and start scrolling through Instagram a minute and a half after you have started speaking? And why is it that when somebody else makes the same idea which you were which you were about to talk about, people sit up and take notice? Okay, and people don't pay attention to you. Well, if this is happening with you, well, you need to listen to this video very carefully, because I'm going to talk about five mistakes that intelligent people commit, because of which people don't take them seriously. So let's get started right away. Mistake number one: ignoring how you say it. Let me repeat that: ignoring how you say it. Right? Friends, what happens is that most of these intelligent and smart people are so full of technical skills, right, that they believe that as long as they are able to talk about those skills, the what of delivery, they don't need to concentrate on the how of delivery. They Whenever they start talking, they speak in a very boring, flat tone. They don't show any emotion. There is nothing visual or change in body language to express emotions. And because of which, they look absolutely underprepared and they look absolutely insecure. Now, let's also understand why this happens. This happens mainly because we are conditioned like that. The Indian education system gives you marks on your knowledge of skills, your knowledge of the technical skills, right? So you memorize a lot, you mug up a lot, and as long as your answers match exactly what is given in the book, you are given high marks for that. You go through school, you go through college and your post graduation like that. And once you're out of your college and post graduation, this thing is ingrained into your brain that as long as you can speak about technical knowledge, the delivery is not important, right? But that is not the case in the corporate world. Delivery is important in the corporate world. And if you want to climb the corporate ladder, well, along with your technical skills, you need to be good in delivery also. Now, I'd like to give an example out here. I'd like to give an example of a person, and that person is Dr. Anand Ranganathan, a scientist. And if you have seen him speak, he is brilliant in articulating his thoughts. I love the debates where Dr. Anand Ranganathan takes part, and I watch it only for him. I don't care about the others. He is a scientist, as I said, and the way he articulates his thought is absolutely amazing. He structures his thoughts. He puts points. He puts them in small points, and by the end, of course, he speaks very fast at times, and he throws a lot of data at times. But that is to be done because he's taking part in a debate, and he's been given 40 seconds to a 1 minute to speak. But if you really want to see an intelligent person articulating also very well, Dr. Anand Ranganathan is my example. Right now, what can you do to overcome this? Well, I'd like to talk about three things. One is vocal, right? Whenever you are talking, you need to show emotion. For example, if you're talking of something really sad, really tragic, well, then your voice needs to go down, right? But if you're talking of passion, you're talking about energy, well, then your voice needs to go up, right? So you need to show your voice needs to kind of it should be like a melody, up and down depending upon what you're trying to communicate. Okay, so that's vocal. Then you should. The second is visual, right? Visually, your body language should also. So if I'm talking about energy, right, I should be passionate. Okay, it should show on the camera, right? I'm talking about energy right now. You see my hands how they are moving, right? If you're talking of something which is not so with some maybe like a tragic incident, well, then your voice needs to go down, right? So and your it should show on your face that you're sad. You can't be smiling and laughing at that point of time. So that's visual. So we've talked about visual, we've talked about vocal. The third thing is verbal. In verbal, try to keep your language as simple as possible. Don't get Don't get confused with this vocabulary, this difficult vocabulary thing where people think that the more difficult the vocabulary, the more you'll be able to impress people. No, you will put off people if you use vocabulary for which they have to refer to a dictionary and people don't understand that. So try and use simple language. So those are the three things you should use in point number one. So that's point number one, ignoring how you say it. Okay, you can't afford to ignore that. Along with the what, you also have to concentrate on the how of delivery. Now let's move on to point number two. Mistake number two is using disclaimers at the beginning of your speech. So let me give you an example. Let's say you start your speech by saying that I may not be the best person for this, or I haven't really thought this through, or you say that this could be stupid, but now what you're trying to do out here is that you are undermining your own ability. And the audience you are speaking to, they might get the impression that if this person does not value himself, if this person is not sure about what he's going to say, why should we believe him? Right? So, using such disclaimers at the beginning of your sentence is absolutely not required. Now, why does this happen? Well, this happens mainly because of two or three reasons. Number one is that you value humility. Now, that's perfectly fine. Being humble and having humility is absolutely fine. But when you use statements like this, you are telling people that you are not very confident of what you're going to talk about, and that undermines your ability. Number two could be imposter syndrome, right? You want to lower the bar. You don't want people to have too much expectations from you. And you feel that if you lower the bar, you could jump over it. So that could be point number two. And point number three is you might feel that you might come across as arrogant and too confident, right? So if you use this particular sentence this particular disclaimer at the beginning of your speech, right, people will feel that that you are not too arrogant and not too confident, right? But that doesn't serve the purpose. When you make these sentences at the beginning, you are absolutely undermining your authority, and you're letting people know that you are not the best person to speak on this. Let us say you call you call somebody to defuse a bomb, right? You call a technician to defuse a bomb, and he says that, sorry, I may not be the best person for this. I'm not prepared for this, but let me cut the red wire. Now, I know that I'm being a little too dramatic, with this particular example, but you get the emotion, right? You get the message behind this particular point, right? So what should you do? Well, you should jump directly to your point. You should start with things like my view on this is, or what I think about this is, right? My 2 cents on this particular topic are, get straight to the point. No need to use disclaimers, right? So avoid using disclaimers at the beginning of your speech or at the beginning of what you have to say is point number two. Let's move on to point number three. Point number three is using overcomplicated language to answer simple questions. So let me give you an example out here. Let us say that your boss asks you a simple question that, can I have a project update? And you reply that to understand the project update, we first need to understand a multifaceted ecosystem of deliverables where each one has a different completion percentage. And when you're talking about update, you're referring to a delta analysis from a synchronized point in the past from which I need to take out some historical data. Now, what do you think your boss is going to feel after this particular reply? He's going to get totally confused, right? Now, this is what happens, and if you are someone who tries to use overcomplicated language to impress people, well, then you need to stop it immediately. Now, let's understand, why are you doing this? You are doing this, and why people do this is because they are afraid of follow-up questions. They are afraid of coming across as underconfident. They are scared that if people ask follow-up questions, they may not have the reply to those questions, and they may come across as totally not knowledgeable at all. And that's why they use this overcomplicated language to confuse people. Now, the danger out here is that you may make complete sense in that complicated language, but the person gets confused thoroughly, and he may decide that in the future he's not going to ask you, he's going to go to somebody else, right? The simple answer to this particular question could be, well, yes, boss, phase number 1 is over, and we are going to start phase 2 from next week. And within that, if he asks you, you can give further details, right? So That's point number 3. Don't use overcomplicated language when the same question can be answered with simple answers, simple 1 or 2 sentence answers. Right? So that was point number 3. Let's move on to point number 4. Point number 4 is where you are seeking constant approval from everyone. Now, this is where you begin your presentation or your opinion by making statements like, right? Yeah? Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean? Now, what is happening out here is that you are seeking constant approval from everyone. You want to keep everybody happy, right? You are hypersensitive about getting validation from people. Now, why is this happening? As I said, that you are obsessed, you want approval from everyone before you implement that particular idea. Let's take an example. Let's say that you want to share a marketing campaign and you say, we are doing this right. Does that make sense? Now, do you think that these 2 sentences will make you sound confident? Will you sound confident in the eyes of your team? Absolutely not. Right? You are doing this because you are hypersensitive about getting this validation from people. Now, what is the solution out here? The solution out here is that confidently share your plan, something which you are totally confident about, and use sentences like, can I expand on any particular point? Is everybody clear on what I just shared? Now, this is where you come across as more confident. And in the process, it's okay to you may not get approval from everyone. But if the majority of the team is with you, well, your problem is solved. Please remember, it's very difficult to keep everybody happy, and it's very difficult to get 100% validation from everyone. Right? So, point number 4 is seeking this constant validation from everyone, which is not correct. So, let's move on to point number 5 and the last point. Point number 5 is giving up on your ideas too quickly. What really happens out here is that the moment you have made a presentation, the moment you have expressed your opinion, and you see somebody moving in their chair, you see this look of disapproval on someone's face, and you immediately abandon your ideas. You immediately give up your ideas. And this, in a way, is also connected to point number 4, where you are seeking constant validation from everyone. Right? The moment you see the sign of disapproval, you say something like, looks like a bad idea, right? Let's give it up. Let's think of something else. Now, when you make statements like this and when you abandon your ideas at the first sign of protest from your team, what do you think that your team will think of you, right? You will not be respected as a leader, right? Why does this happen? Well, in a way, as I said, it's connected to point number 4. And you are hypersensitive and you are bothered about what people will think about you, what people will think about your ideas, what people will say behind your back. And this is something you need to overcome. If you are confident about your presentation and your opinion, you need to end your presentation or opinion by statements like this. We are implementing this idea from tomorrow. I am open to perspectives from other people. Now, this is when you are sending across the message that you are fully confident of what you have just presented or what you have just said. And you respect other people's opinion, but we are finally, after taking everybody's opinion, we are going with this particular plan. Right? So don't give up on your ideas. And maybe people are not protesting. If somebody moves in a chair, maybe they are just thinking, maybe they're processing what you have just told them, right? Maybe somebody just wants to sneeze and you have assumed that he doesn't like the idea, right? So don't give up. If you are confident about your idea, don't give up so soon on your ideas, right? Be confident if you are confident and end with statements like, I'm open to other people's perspectives, but we are going ahead with this particular plan. So friends, that was point number 5. I hope that you have found value in this video. If you have, please do give me a like. Please do subscribe to this channel because I keep coming up with videos like these to help you improve your communication skills. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next one.